Hello, everybody. Cindy Ashton here, and welcome to our very first Q&A with our expert of the week for Cindy Uncorked. Hello, Susan Gala.
Hello. Great to see you and hear your voice.
Oh, it's wonderful. And you look like you're in Florida right now, but you're on the West Coast, so you're not being affected by the hurricane right now.
Correct.
Good. So I'm excited because we've got Shirley Jones from Canada on the line, but in with us, but we also have listener questions that were emailed in from people who couldn't attend today. So, first, Susan, I want to say huge congratulations to you because people loved your segment. They were really, really blown away, and you have you've opened minds in ways that's remarkable. You've changed lives. So thank you for your contribution on the show and to all of our listeners.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having me here. I'm so honored.
Yeah. So let's open up the lines. We've got questions from viewers, but I know that Shirley's on the line. So Shirley's actually here. Shirley, what question do you have for Susan today?
Well, I'm very curious to know if you actually have created a process or a planned approach to healing through, trauma to the vaginal area. That's really what I want to know, because even just after listening to what you had to say on Cindy Uncorked, Susan, I found so many, it just was really, really helpful. So are you taking clients through a certain process? Could you just explain that, please?
I do. I have created a process, and I always begin with a very conscious, radiant femme breathing process. I find that when women are affected by trauma, whatever that trauma may be, is that their voice, their heart, and their vagina are shut down. And when I say their voice is shut down, I don't mean that they can't speak. They're not able to communicate properly, but also they're not able to breathe properly. And I want to tell you just a little bit about the throat anatomy and the vaginal cavity anatomy. The cavity of both the throat and the vagina, ironically, they look the same. So this all makes sense. So when we are caught in this trauma trap, the breathing shuts down. So my main focus begins with the breath, a very conscious breath, and I teach you how to breathe and release the emotions in the vagina. I also, along with that, is an unveiling process where you are willing to talk about your story. Because sometimes this story has been in the present or it has been in the very deep past. And the very deep past, and what I mean by that, on a cellular memory process, or as I would call it, epigenetics, which is the term that really helps us understand that in our DNA, through ancestors or lineages, that emotional code hasn't been released. It hasn't been released because possibly during gestation with our mom, she was affected by a trauma and she didn't heal from that trauma. Or maybe it was her mother or mother's mother, and it can go down several generations. So a part of this process is also the unveiling. And then I add movement into this, because if we don't understand how the movement of our pelvis helps define the balance of our body and the connections of the emotional energy, physical energy, and spiritual energy from the back of the pelvis, the sacrum, that travels up to the brain, then we're still living in lockdown, or I call it frozen from the belly button down. So learning how to move the pelvis in many directions to wake up that energy, not only in the pelvis, but also to wake it up in the body as a whole.
So,
okay.
So Susan, one of the things that people don't realize is you are a licensed health practitioner. You're a massage therapist. You've got multiple disciplines under your belt. And I think that's really important for people to know because you work on so many different levels.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so I am trained as a licensed massage therapist, and I have over 25 years as a practitioner, having my own business. And what I really firmly believed in and decided to go and study and got certified in about 15 years ago was holistic pelvic core techniques for women who do have problems down there. So my further research in that has been the discovery, and not that I discovered it. I mean, it's neuroscientists have been talking about this for about 40 years. But they're finally freely talking about it, how trauma is trapped in the body. And I know with my own experience and with the experience of all my training and studying the pelvis and the cycles of the pelvis throughout all stages of a woman's life, what happens down there. So between my studies and certification and license and also my own story, it has helped me heal myself and many women around me.
Great. And so let me kind of move to the other listener questions that we had. So Cheyenne from Houston, Texas emailed in and she said, I have always had painful sex and I didn't realize it was tied to something I went through in my past. How can I have sex with less pain? That's a great question. We all want to have better sex.
This is a great question, right? Because if there has been trauma in the past and we shut down, and like I had mentioned a little bit before, if our voice is shut down, it is going to shut down the vagina. The vagina is going to tighten up. So if we're touched in a way that's very unpleasing and not loving or nourishing, we're not able to open up. So it's really, really important for a woman to have a conscious conversation with her partner and maybe discuss how she needs to be touched or she needs to be nourished. Because it can put her in a pattern of always being disconnected down there.
Great. And I know for me, I used to have painful sex. And what changed for me is what you were talking about, is having that conversation with my partner. And what was really interesting is that he has actually been trained in some of these areas as well. And so what has happened is that as we were together through the years, we would actually communicate a lot and he would test different things out and help me to feel safe in receiving pleasure. It was really quite amazing. And it really goes back to being able to have that conversation. I love it.
It is. I mean, nourishment is so important. And I don't mean just, self-care and going for a massage or acupuncture or, just having the enjoyment and joy of having many girlfriends around us. I'm really talking about, when we really heal the deep feminine core, it helps us radiate outside. It helps us really feel full and alive again.
Yeah, for sure. So really the first step is to actually have a partner that is loving and safe and that you can communicate with. So let's go on to the next question. Pamela from Boulder, Colorado said, after watching, are you still there, Susan? Okay.
Yes,
so
I'm
after
yes.
watching the episode, I realized that I have anger inside. I must have an angry vagina. How can I make friends with her? This is a great question.
It is a great question. So first of all, I would probably ask her, well, what does that mean to you? Why do you feel like you have an angry vagina? I mean, have you been closing yourself off from relationships? Do you feel like there's been a point in your life where you've had enough and you don't want to take responsibility that deep, intimate part of your body is the most important part in a woman's body for health throughout all stages and cycles of our life. And what have you been doing for nourishment? So yes, that does shut down. It closes us off and keeps us isolated in community, not even in community, but also in our profession, in our workspace. And when we are in community, or when we are in our office, we don't feel like there is presence there. So not having that presence is shutting that down. You're not friends with it because maybe you've been running on a lot of exhausted and stressful masculine energy. There's nothing wrong with masculine energy because we all, it's yin yang. So we have part feminine, part masculine energy. And all of us, whether it's a male or a female. So I think what we need to do is when you think about, can it be angry? Is it angry? Why am I not friends with it? So again, I'm going to go back to, we need to nourish it.
Right.
What do you do for her?
What it really comes down to, I think that I'm hearing over and over from you and so many of my other guests coming up on the show, is that we as women simply do not love and nourish ourselves enough.
We don't. We don't. We don't. We're always running. We're always on the go. We have a full calendar. How do you take care of yourself? Your body is a sacred temple. If your body isn't healthy from the inside out, it's not going to help you get through all your stages of life. It doesn't matter what the outside of you looks like. We can take care of that in many different ways.
Yeah.
It's the inside that also needs to be healthy.
Yeah.
You know, within that sacred center of ours are our intimate organs. So not only the vagina gets shut down, what happens to your bladder? What happens to your uterus?
Right.
I mean, women suffer in silence.
Oh,
Pardon
sorry.
me?
Sorry, we have a delay in the internet. I'm in the middle of the woods, so my internet's delayed. But yeah, so I mean, really, it's like when we have one part of our body that's shut down, it does affect everything else. It's kind of like if you have a spider web. The minute you hit one part of that spider web, it affects the rest of the spider web.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So our last question that was emailed in, and then we'll bring it back to the floor of the people who are online, is from Oakville, Ontario, Madison. And so Madison asks, why does my vagina change when I hit menopause? That's a good question. I'm not there yet, and I want to know this. And hopefully, I don't want a vaginal dryness when I hit menopause. So tell us.
To talk about this, right?
We need to talk about
this. It's the best kept secret. Okay, so what happens? We all have hormones, right?
Yeah.
Our hormones change. So what happens to the vaginal wall? And the vaginal wall, believe it or not, is the most absorptive, nourishing part of our body. But what happens is the uterus and its lining becomes thin. So sex becomes painful. It becomes extremely dry. And you feel like you're shrinking down there. So what do we do about it? I know a lot of women say, well, it's vibrators. I don't believe in using anything like that. I guess because I'm very holistic and I really feel that you should learn what's happening down there. So then you should train or get trained on how to do self-massage. You should learn about yoni steaming because it's all natural. It's an herbal steam that's been used for centuries, and it will nourish your vagina. You should, of course, engage in intimacy. You should not decide that, oh my goodness, I'm too old. That is not true, because believe it or not, in menopause, you have nothing to worry about. And what I mean by that is you don't have to worry about getting pregnant anymore. especially after the last menstruation. I mean, it's done, it's over, and you could have a most incredible relationship with your partner at this age, which can be very fulfilling and very, very sensual. So there are some other products or natural things that I truly believe in, but unfortunately, yes, just like our skin is going to change as we age, our skin down there is going to change. And it's important to do something about it instead of ignoring it, because it can become very painful and dry.
So a couple of questions. The first that comes up in my mind is, can't women at that age just use lubricants, or it still is too dry?
They can. So I suggest coconut oil, raw coconut oil.
Great.
Absolutely, raw coconut oil. And also, I believe in local honey. So if you go to a farmer's market, not for intimacy though, not the honey for intimacy. You could use local honey, a little dab in your vagina, a couple of times a week, just to nourish it. But it has to be local.
Yeah,
wherever you live.
It's got to be raw, organic.
Yes, raw, organic, local honey, not from the store.
Okay.
Farmers market.
And
so there are some natural products you could use to refresh down there.
That's very exciting. That's good to know, raw. I mean, I'm not there yet. In 10 years, when I hit menopause, then I will be using raw organic honey. So I've actually heard of something called the Jade egg. It's also...
Yes.
Tell us what a Jade egg is, because I've heard it's really great as well at rejuvenating everything in your vagina.
I don't have one to show you, but it's the size of an egg, and they come in 3 different sizes: a small, medium, and large. I don't think it's necessary to get all sizes. You would just get the regular egg size. Sometimes it's called a small, sometimes it's called a medium. I suggest a small. That also can be placed just at the tip, the opening of your vagina. It's a graphite egg. It has to be jade. I don't suggest playing around with it and pushing it into your vagina. This is gentle, gentle nourishment. So I'll explain it like this. Anything that you want to use to nourish your vagina should be, I believe anyway, something or created from a practice that's been around for centuries. Not all these toys that are being created and designed right now. So if you're going to use a jade egg, I want you to imagine a moment. What is it like if you sip water from a straw, or lemonade from a straw, or an iced tea from a straw? That sipping feeling, right? Can you imagine what that is like?
Yeah.
So even when you're intimate with your partner, if it's a male partner, if you're going to use a jade egg, I want you to imagine really soaking up the nourishment of sipping your partner in, or sipping the egg into your vagina, but just at the opening, to help you relax the muscles. The pelvic floor muscles are real important there. Relax the pelvic floor muscles to make entry. And I wouldn't even suggest putting it all the way in until you're very, very trained in this type of work to do it, and you're relaxed enough to do it.
Okay.
So it's always being conscious about how you want to create more nourishment down there to help you really feel like you have freedom or feel fully alive, but without force and frustration. Because if we are having a disconnect down there, the force or frustration can harm us.
Right. Everything has to be done with love and gentleness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you put the jade at the tip of your vagina, is it just that you hold it there for a while and then let the its power or its work? Or
Yeah, so I would always say, ideally you're going to be lying on the floor on your back, your knees are going to be bent.
okay.
If your knees are bent, it's a little bit easier for it to slide in. That jade egg is threaded with dental floss.
Oh.
I wish I could show it to you here, but I can't. is threaded with dental floss, and it needs to be threaded with dental floss because if it does sip inside of you, you want to be able to gently slide it out.
Okay.
But the idea is not to let it hang out in there. The idea is that you want to learn to open up your vagina. Imagine like a bud, right?
Right.
A bud opens very slowly, so the muscles in your wall are going to relax and open very slowly, and then all of a sudden it's going to connect back in like a bud. So with the correct breathing technique, this is also what happened. These muscles will slowly expand, and the muscles will slowly, gently contract.
Okay, so it's like you're getting a workout for your vagina.
It is, but in a very conscious, loving way, not a grip and connected way.
Got it.
And I think in our society as women, because we've been forced into this idea that we have to look a certain way, we have to walk a certain way, we have to believe in certain type of exercise modalities that keep our pelvis and our butt and our vaginal muscles all contracted to look better in clothes. That's not true, though. It actually harms us, walking in a contracted way.
Okay, cool. So we are down to the last few minutes of our Q&A call. I know that a couple of new people came on the line. Yay! Does anyone have a question for Susan? Who wants to pipe up with a question? All right, I don't think anyone has any more questions.
Okay.
All right, Susan, thank you so much. Very enlightening.
Thank you.
Yes, it's beautiful. We will get this up onto our web exclusives in the next couple of days, and everybody will be able to watch the replay. All right, thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Susan.